Good day, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Stories from,
Stories from Europe, where your narrators, Latoya Topey.
and I'm Yacquema Reid. Once upon a time in the land of Europe,
There was a country called France.
so here we have a map of France. So if you look to your right, you can see some of the important cities and towns in the country. You can see the shape, the geological information. Now, France or République Française is a country located in northwestern Europe. It is surrounded by the Atlantic Ocean, Mediterranean Sea, the Alps, and the Pyrenees. France has long provided a geographic, economic, and linguistic bridge joining northern and southern Europe. La France est le premier producteur agricole d'Europe et l'une des premières puissances industrielles mondiales. All right, so we have a lot of cities in France. So three important cities in France. Trois villes importantes en France sont Paris, Marseille, Bordeaux. Paris. Paris, city and capital of France, is situated in the north central part of the country. With a population of 2.2 million, Paris is by far France's largest city. Paris is one of the world's major economies and a leading hub of finance, commerce, fashion, and more. It is also known for tourism, which consistently ranks within the top 5 tourist destinations in the world. Paris est également appelée la capitale mondiale de la mode. Next, we have Bordeaux. Bordeaux est considéré comme la capitale mondiale du vin. More than 700 million bottles of wine are produced here every year. Additionally, its most famous export, which is wine, Bordeaux is also home to 362 national heritage sites. These are designated as monuments historiques. So millions of visitors come every year to tour the city's architectural marvels and look at the monuments. And finally, we have the city of Marseille. Marseille est la plus ancienne ville de France et l'une des plus anciennes d'Europe occidentale. Its timeline goes all the way back to 600 BC, when the region was occupied by the ancient Greeks. It is the second largest city in France and the main port for commercial and cruise ships. So in recent decades, the city has developed into a popular tourist destination with around 4 million visitors a year. All right, so as we can see, there are lots of people living in the country of France. So the total population of France has been increasing for years now, reaching 67 million inhabitants in 2021. Despite the novel coronavirus, la France est le 10e pays le plus peuplé d'Europe. Like most Western nations, France is struggling with an aging population. That's sad. All right, so next we look at religion. According to Statista 2020, almost 38 million people identify themselves as Christians. So Christianity was the most represented religion in France back in the day. So furthermore, about 20.8 million people consider themselves as religiously unaffiliated. So that's quite a lot. Gouvernement. France is a republic. The institution of governance in France is defined by the constitution, more specifically by the current constitution, which is the Fifth Republic. Trois branches du gouvernement sont executive, the judiciary, and the legislative. So, the Fifth Republic, what is it? It was established in 1958 and was largely the work of General de Gaulle, who was the first president, and Michael Debra is prime minister. It has been amended 17 times and gives extensive power to the executive branch. So, since we're on the topic of government, let's look at the French head of state. L'actuel président de la France est Emmanuel Macron et l'actuel premier ministre est Jean Castex. In France, the president, and we can see at the top right on our next page, he's the main political figure, and he selects the prime minister, and we can see him on the bottom right under the president. So both of them together, they form the government, right? So it's like the president and his right hand man. So let's continue. So we have national symbols of France. So the national flag is the first symbol that we'll look at. So the tricolor flag is an emblem of the Fifth Republic, right? Les couleurs du flag sont blanc, rouge et bleu. The white represents the colors of the king, while the red and blue represents the city of Paris. Today, the tricolor flies over all public buildings, and it is also flown at most official ceremonies, being both civil and military functions. All right, so let's look at our next symbol. So our next symbol is the national emblem. The current emblem of France has been a symbol of the country since 1953. That's quite a long time. So although it does not have any legal status or official, or it's not the official coat of arms, la fleur nationale est également sur la couverture du passeport. So the emblem consists of a wide shield with a lion on one end and an eagle on the other end, and it also bears the monogram RF, and this stands for, you guessed it, République Française. A laurel branch is also on the emblem, and it symbolizes the victory of the Republic. In addition, we also have an oak branch, and this symbolizes serenity or wisdom. All right, moving right along to our next symbol. So our next symbol is the motto and national anthem. Liberty, equality, fraternity. In French, we say liberté, égalité, fraternité. It is a tripartite motto in the form of a hendiatrice. The motto finds its origin in the French Revolution, when it was first used in a speech by Robespierre when dealing with the organization of the National Guard. Right, so la Marseillaise est l'hymne national de la France. The song was written in 1792 by Claude-Joseph Rouget de Lille in Strasbourg after the declaration of war by France against Austria. So you can see the anthem has been around, La Marseillaise has been around for quite some time. So just let's listen to a few of the words of La Marseillaise. And if we look at the picture, we can see a few civilians as well as military personnel. They are standing at attention while the anthem plays. All right, so moving along, let's skip our page. We also have Marianne. Marianne est l'icône nationale de la République française. Marianne represents the permanent values that found our citizens' attachment to the Republic. So she represents liberty, equality, and fraternity. And here we have a picture of Marianne. All right, so skipping over to our national flower. L'iris est la fleur nationale de la France. A stylized version of the flower is used for the country's insignia and national emblem. So, the iris or fleur de lis has been used to represent French royalty since the 13th century, and it signifies perfection, light, and life. So, in heraldic designs used by the French monarchy back in the day, the three petals also represented wisdom, faith, and chivalry. All right. So, what kind of money do they use in France? So, the people of France, l'euro est la monnaie nationale de la France. So, in France, coins can go from 1 to 5, 10, 20, and even 50 cents. And euros can go from 1 or 2. Each one depicts a French icon, either a piece of architecture, a sculpture, or a piece of art. So we can see, when you look at the notes, you can see that they are beautifully designed. So if you take a French note with you, you can see the architecture and the famous monuments of France on the money. Right, so let's move right along. Let's skip and see what we have next. So the people of France, they love to celebrate. So some of the national holidays that they have in France are New Year's Day, Jour de l'An, May Day, Fête to Travel, Victory in Europe Day, Bastille Day, which is Fête Nationale, World War One Armistice Day. We have Easter Monday, Lundi de Pâques. We have Ascension Day, Jeudi de l'Ascension. We have Whit Monday, Lundi de Pentecôte. We have Assumption Day, Assumption, All Saints Day, Toussaint, Christmas Day, Noel, Good Friday, Vendredi Saint, and finally we have Saint Stephen's Day, Saint Etienne, and this is also called Boxing Day in English-speaking countries. Right, so along with the holidays, we know we have some celebrations in France. So we have the chaque saison, ce sont les celebrations et des festivals. So some of these are Epiphany or Epiphany, Carlemas, Chandelier, Mardi Gras, and Carnival or Carnaval. And a few of the folk festivals are the Lemon Festival in Menton, Fête du Citron de Menton, Nice Carnival, Carnival du Nice, International Kite Festival of Berck-sur-Mer. We have the Air Balloons Festival in Lorraine, European Heritage Days, Journée Européenne du Patrimoine. We have Return from the Alpine Pastures, Fête des Alpares. And finally, we have Wine Harvest Festival in Halstead, Fête du Vin.
Okay, now let us dive into some famous people from France. So you might be wondering, who are these famous people from France? First, we have the notorious David Guetta. Pierre David Guetta est né à Paris, en France, d'année 1967. C'est un disc jockey. He has been the most important face behind the mainstream popularity of electronic dance music, popularly known as EDM music. Some of his songs include Titanium, Hey Mama, and Memories. Here is a snippet of Titanium. Okay, so next we have the notorious, world-renowned French fashion designer Coco Chanel. Gabrielle Bernard Chanel, né le 19 août 1883 et décédé le 10 janvier 1971. She is a French fashion designer, as previously mentioned, who ruled Parisian haute couture for almost 6 decades. Wow, that's incredible. Her elegantly casual designs inspired women of fashion to abandon the complicated and uncomfortable clothes such as petticoats and corsets that were prevalent in the 19th century dress. Next, we have Claude Monet. After Claude Monet, né le 14 novembre 1840 à Paris et décédé le 5 décembre 1926. He is a French painter who was the leader, initiator, and unswerving advocate of the Impressionist style. Okay, here we have the national heroes of France. Let us begin with Jacques Cartier. Jacques Cartier, 1490 et 1557, était un Français navigateur. His explorations established the basis for France's claims to territory in what is now Canada. In 1535, he led the first European expedition up the St. Lawrence River. The next national hero of France is Samuel de Champlain, né à Brouage, France, à Tour des années 1567. He became one of the most important explorers in North American and French history and mapped much of Canada and the northeastern United States. Okay, here are some other national heroes of France. We have Jean-Jacques Rousseau, Denis Diderot, Antoine Gautier, Jean-Louis David, Pierre-Simon Laplace, Marquis de Lafayette, Napoleon Bonaparte, and Victor Hugo. Okay, so what are some pastimes and recreation in France? Some popular hobbies in France include escrime, ski, course de voiture de sport, kitesurf. Other hobbies include allure à théâtre, écouter et jouer de la musique et danser. Sport. Some major sports in France include football, tennis, handball, rugby, cyclisme, and basket. Athlètes français célèbres. Some internationally famous French athletes include football, Paul Pogba, tennis, Amélie Marismo, handball, Bertrand Gillet and Guillaume Gil, rugby, Thierry Dassatour, cyclisme, Bernard Hinault, basket, Tony Parker. Okay, here is France plat national, and it is called the porte-à-faux. This is a hearty stew flavored with herbs and thickened with marrowbone and root vegetables, as seen depicted in the image. Cuisine et gastronomie. Here we have the bouillabaisse. So the bouillabaisse is a classic dish of fish cooked in boiling water and plenty of olive oil until a velvety emulsified broth forms. This is seen here in the picture. Next, we have escargot de Bourgogne. It is a French delicacy cooked in a special 6-hole ceramic pan. Next, we have the steak frites. Steak frites is a simple dish of pan-sautéed beef steak alongside strips of deep-fried potatoes. Now, who wouldn't want to try these dishes?
Delicious.
Okay, so here we have a popular drink from France that is called the pastis. The pastis is an aniseed flavored alcoholic spirit that is often associated with sunny afternoons in southeastern France. Now imagine yourself chilling with a drink of this. It is primarily made from a combination of star anise and licorice, which results in a distinctively herbaceous flavor. And here we have baguette. This is a long, thin type of bread of French origin that is commonly made from basic lean dough. It is distinguishable by its length and crisp crust. Oh wow!
Delicious. What a mouth-watering ending to the story. Thank you everyone for joining us for another episode of Stories from Europe. We hope you learned a lot about Republique Française. See you next week where we will highlight another European country.
And as usual, please remember to visit our bibliography page to get our references that we used in our story presentation today.
Salut!
Salut!
Au revoir!